You are now listening to the Going North podcast with your host, author and speaker, Dom Brightman. And every Monday and Thursday, you're going to hear the voice of a different author share their stories, expertise, and their struggles that they had to overcome in life to leave you inspired to get more out of your life. Be sure to not only listen to this episode, but share with others, connect with the authors, and always advance others to advance yourself. Now let's get on with the show.
And today on the Going North podcast, we're back at you again with another host-to-host special, baby. That's right. I think this is probably number 4 or number 5, and we got one heck of a radio show host for you this time who is also an author. This wonderful author right here, she's not only an author, but she's also a certified professional relationship coach, as well as a life coach and a publisher based out of Southern California, baby. And you're probably wondering who this wonderful lady is. It's the one, the only, marvelous Mari Mitchell. How are you today, ma'am?
Doing great today. How are you?
Oh, doing fabulous. Get to have Miss Eminem on the Going North podcast, baby. Get to give you a break from interviewing others, and you get to chill, and I get to poke you with questions.
Yeah. See how it feels on the other side, right?
Oh, yeah, that's right. And don't worry, the stick is soft. It's kind of like one of those sock and boppers back in the 90s, those plastic gloves where you hit the kids.
Oh, my gosh. Okay.
Woo! So, since most introductions aren't allowed to be 20 days long, mind filling in the gaps where I may have missed some things in the introduction, and tell us about yourself.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on your show, Dom. This is such a pleasure and an honor. And I am a life and relationship coach. I've been doing so since 2008, so it's 10 years. It'll be 11 years towards September of this new year. Woo-hoo. It's been a wonderful journey. It was my own personal journey. I'm a very unhappy person. I did not feel that I contributed to society in a meaningful way. I did not feel fulfilled in my marriage at the time. I mean, I had my kids. I loved that. I loved being a mom, but I did not feel like I made a contribution, a serious contribution in any way, and I was a very unhappy person. So what I did is I started doing self-coaching. I couldn't afford a life coach or any kind of coach at that time, and so I just started getting books. I especially read books by Cheryl Richardson. She's a famous life coach in the United States, and she has a lot of self-help. She's very big on self-help and tuning into yourself, and that's how I got started. And once I began to learn some things and begin to find me in who I was, I realized that my path was one to authenticity. In other words, I needed to become who I really was. I had spent too many years masquerading or pretending to be who I wasn't in order to please people. And that had been me. And it's so funny because I just had a conversation with my daughter earlier, and she said to me, Mom, you're like no other person in the world. I said, well, that's not true. She goes, well, most people are afraid to offend somebody, so they won't say where they really want to go or what they really want to do or how they feel about something because they're so afraid to offend. Whereas you, she goes, you're not mean about it, but you state what you want. And so that was my learning experience, to learn who I was and have the courage to say who I am and speak out for what I want.
Oh, there you go indeed. And the courage to create something great. Congrats on 10 and almost 11 years of coaching. Goodness, how's it feel?
It feels awesome. It feels unreal. 6 years of radio as of next month feels completely unreal. And the years just fly by, but I do know that I've learned a lot, even as a coach. When I first started, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Don't tell my clients that. But I've learned along the way, and my coaching is a lot more intuitive. I really can connect with the client, and I don't tell people what to do. I don't give advice what to do. I just help them to connect with who they are so they can get their own answers. So I've gotten better at that through the years.
Oh, there you go. There you go. So no camouflage and cracking the whip at all for the clients in person?
No, none of that. There are coaches that do that. There are coaches that are like your personal trainer, like your sergeant in the Army, and I guess some people need that. I have a very gentle approach. You know, we get beat up a lot in life from the time we start kindergarten all the way through school and whatever else you may do, sports. We get treated pretty roughly in this world. So I have a very gentle touch with my clients, whether they're male or female. I want them to know that they're loved and cared for, not just by me, but by the universe, by God, by the divine. And I want them to learn to care for themselves and love themselves the way that they were born to be.
And I guess that falls in line with the relationship coach. I think you're the first one actually had on this podcast. So I guess with intuitive coaching, I guess that falls specifically under relationship coaching.
For both relationship or life coaching, the intuitive falls in. And with relationship coaching, I can do couples coaching, but mostly I do one or the other, although I've done some couples coaching. And it's more than anything, it's getting each person or the one person who comes to me to really connect with who they are and what they want in their life. Many people go into a relationship seeking for the other person to make them happy or to fulfill them in some way. And that doesn't work. That's relationships that begin to fall apart, and then these people come to me later. If you're not fulfilled within yourself and not happy with yourself and don't love yourself fully, it's very hard to be in relationship, and you certainly are not going to get a happy, fulfilling, harmonious relationship. You're just going to get a lot of clashing there.
Yep, buddy of mine was like, yeah, I hope to get in a relationship and have her make me feel more happy. I'm like, dude, you got to find your own happiness first, man. Because if you attract a chick now, she's going to be bringing her crap, and you put your crap there, and you expect her to make you extra happy. It's like, set yourself up for failure.
Yeah, you're going to make extra crap. Sorry, that's just going to make because you got 2 times. But, you know, it's not something that we're taught. I wasn't taught that growing up. I wasn't taught that in school. You know, you see the fairy tales. You see the soap operas. You see the movies, the romantic movies, and this person is miserable until the other person comes around and the room lights up, right? And everything is perfect from then on. But that's not how life is. We have to find our own happiness. Most people don't understand that and don't want to take the time to do that. They're still searching for that other, not always a person, sometimes it's things, to help them to feel fulfilled and happy.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It looks like you also write some romance novels, so was that like inspired through a lot of your coaching, or was that something you just always wanted to do and you just did that as a part of your whole Mari Mitchell business model?
I've always wanted to write. I never thought I was any good at it. I was told I wasn't good at it coming right out of high school, and so I didn't really pursue it. But after becoming a coach, I was inspired to write a book which I call Diary of a Hopeless Romantic. Now, it is a fiction novel, but the secret is it's a self-help book disguised as a novel. And so this woman in the book, she's in her mid-40s, late 30s, mid-40s, something like that. She is doing mostly internet dating, looking for the perfect guy that's going to just make her so happy and solve every problem in her life. But as she meets these men, and every chapter is a different man that she meets, she begins to find herself. And so at the end of each chapter, I put down what she learned from this man, from dating this man, or even a one-time meet, like they call from internet dating. And as the book goes on, she begins to evolve, and so she begins to find out who she is, and she begins to speak up for herself, and she begins to not allow men to treat her the way she's always allowed them to treat her. So it's a novel. It's funny. It's a fast read. People can read it sometimes in one night, even though it's almost 300 pages. But it's packed with information, with tips, and with everything I've gleaned and learned about having a relationship, about how we have to be true to ourselves, be who we really are. And that's the number one thing. And then show that person who we are. Don't be afraid. What I used to do in my own life, and a lot of it is from my own life, is I would morph into who I thought the guy I was dating wanted me to be. And so, because I figured if I did that, I didn't even know I was doing that, he would like me, he would care for me, he would stay with me, right? He wouldn't break up with me. And I didn't even know I was doing this, so I would morph into whatever. And after years of doing that, I didn't even know who I was. I didn't even know what I'd like to do. So I had to get back to basics. That's one of the things that Cheryl Richardson taught me as a coach. I had to get back to what did I like when I was a little girl? What did I like to do? What I'd like to do before I got married or when I first got married. What did I like to do? I loved to read. I liked drawing. I loved writing. And so after that last terrible relationship I had, I started doing those things. I started getting back to what I love to do. And so that becomes a learning process. You begin to connect with who you really are and find out who you are and what you like to do. And then you grow from there.
It kind of speaks to like the classic training model from the earlier decades where it's like, find yourself a good man and just like learn what he likes and dislikes, and then you just mold yourself into that man, and then you'll be happily ever after until, of course, some random day a bad habit begins, and then you just get divorced out of nowhere. Then you just lose your complete self.
Yeah, absolutely. This was funny. That reminds me of something really hilarious that I read. It's really not hilarious. It's really sad, but somebody put it on Facebook, and I've seen it in other places, and it was a manual for young married wives, but going back to the 50s. And it talked about how a wife should comport herself. It said, it was like let me see you with your hair all messy or without your makeup in place. I'm just a stay-at-home housewife, even though they didn't have children yet, right? Make sure you have his slippers by his seat, and make sure you have a drink in hand when he comes in the door, and you're dressed beautifully and your lipstick is on. I'm thinking, wow. And that was an actual manual. That was not a joke. That was for real. And it's really fascinating that that's part of what I was taught as a child growing up, especially my parents being immigrants from Cuba. They were very old-fashioned. My mom was very old-fashioned. And so serving a man or becoming what a man wants you to be was part of how I was brought up.
The classic traditions. Yeah. Yeah, that was back in the 50s, so that was completely normal, basically.
That was completely normal, even into the 60s and even to some of the 70s. I didn't get married until the early 80s. I was younger, but yet some of those traditions lingered. If you watch I Love Lucy, although she was kind of wild and did a lot of her own, but nobody liked, her husband didn't like it. If you watch certain shows, then That Girl came around, and she was about the first independent woman. That goes back to the 60s, and then going into the 70s, things began to change. But still, that lingers. Even to this day, I have friends who are married or in relationships with people who still have those traditions, and I'm not talking about people who are that old. So that kind of lingers. And women have the bad habit of losing themselves in a relationship, forgetting about their girlfriends, forgetting about their hobbies, about the things they love to do, and focus on that guy. And that's the most unhealthy thing you can do when you meet somebody and start dating.
Yeah, it's true, especially nowadays. That's probably not a good idea with the high divorce rates, and plus there's like so much out there. It might actually be more of a compliment to have someone who's not completely the same as you, when truth be told, they're not really going to be the same exact copy of you. No one's really going to be exact copy, more like a carbon copy, but not an exact copy.
Right. And, differences will be there. It's just normal. No two people are exactly right. Even twins are not exactly alike personality-wise. And so there has to be a little diversity. Otherwise, it gets just way too boring. But it's important to have your own life, to have your own interests for the men as well. There can be men who are really clingy or needy, and that's a big turn-off for women. You have to have your time together. Of course, you enjoy each other. At some point, you may be in love with each other and crazy about each other, but you don't have to spend every second together doing everything together. You have your things you do together, and then you have your things you do apart. And that makes it more interesting, more interactive, and a lot more fun for everybody.
Oh, yeah, fun on the bun, fun on the bun. Fun on the bun, indeed. Well, that is awesome. So, basically a life coach, a relationship coach, and an author. So how the heck do you balance all that?
It sounds like a lot. Plus, I'm a publisher, and I have my radio show, right? So I'm a radio show host. It sounds like a lot, and I've gone through transitions in my business. And one of the things I did struggle with was, how do I do all these things, and how do they flow to one mission? Because I would struggle. Like, publishing just kind of came to me. I am self-published, and so people would ask me about publishing their book, and I would help them. And then this publishing business just kind of grew, just kind of came, and I kind of fought it. And one of my mentors said to me, hey, if God is offering you, do you like publishing? Do you like editing? I'm like, I love it. I love helping new authors. I love reading their books. I love putting it together. He says, well, this is something that's been God given to you, so why would you turn it away? And so now my ultimate mission is just, it sounds very broad and very silly in a way, but it's just to help people. If I'm helping someone publish a book, or if I'm helping somebody grow a relationship or mend a relationship or find a new relationship, I'm still helping people. And it all falls hand in hand. It's all on my website, whether it's a publishing or whether it's a relationship or just regular coaching. And on the radio show, I just love to feature amazing people like you. You're on my show just to encourage. And so that's a platform where I can give a space for people to be seen and heard. And somebody has a book, or someone has a talent, or they're a coach like me, I just want to showcase them and show the world there's people here to help you. So it all flows really well. And after all these years of coaching, a lot of the coaching I've done, I've learned as much or more than the client has, if that's the way it works. And I have learned to find balance in my life. I don't even work 40 hours a week with my coaching, to be honest with you. Nevertheless, 80 like some people do. It's just more simplified, and it's a lot of fun. I get to talk to amazing people almost every day of my life, and I have a wonderful network all over the world, and that just makes me so happy.
Oh, yeah, so happy indeed. So looks like someone found themselves the 4-hour work week, huh?
4-hour work week? Not quite. Maybe in a couple of years. But to be honest with you, usually it's about 4 to 6 hours a day. Some days more. Some days, it's a longer day, and I have other things I have to do, especially if I'm working on a big publishing project. I stopped working on weekends last year because I used to work nonstop. I just stopped working on weekends. Rarely I'll do something because it needs to be done. I might be a guest on a radio show on a weekend, but I've just learned that life is to be enjoyed, Dom, more than anything. As I've gotten older, I've learned that life is to be enjoyed. If you're not enjoying your life, something is seriously wrong, and we can make changes to turn that around so we are enjoying our life. That's the bottom line.
That's right. Not the top line either.
Yeah, and that's what I want to help people. I want to help people tune into themselves so they can learn how to enjoy their lives, how to create a life of enjoyment, because we can all have it.
Oh, yeah, especially nowadays where so much is out there to help you make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And not that we're not going to have troubles. I call it life happens, not that things are not going to happen to us. Believe me, many things happen that are unpleasant or unhappy for me, but it doesn't mean that my life is unhappy because of that. That's also part of what I learned and what I teach clients.
That's right. That's right. So, speaking of life happening, has there been any trials that you have to overcome once you started your coaching business and putting it all together to get where you currently are?
We don't have a whole other show to discuss that, but absolutely, there's always trials. And I think the first trial that probably any coach or people starting a new business come to is our own self-doubt about us being able to do what we want to do to help people. And so I had to overcome that, my own self-doubt as a coach, my own self-doubt as a publisher, my own self-doubt as a radio show host, that that this was necessary, that this was uplifting people. And that was the first thing I had to overcome. And then another thing that I had to overcome was my feeling that there was too much competition out there. They'll say, oh, there's a life coach, especially out here in California, but even in Florida, there's a life coach every corner who's going to hire you. I came to the realization that there is no competition because I have a style and you have a style and everybody has a different style. And so certain people are going to be drawn to me with my more gentle style, and other people do need the drill sergeant to get them going and motivated. And so now on my radio show, I just feature people and I promote them. It's fully to promote them. I don't promote myself because I don't believe in competition. I believe that we're all here, put on this earth for a purpose, and some of us are helping others. That's just our purpose, and I help them help others. And so that's something else that I had struggled with originally. I felt, why all this competition? Why are people trying to compete with me? And I just let all that go. And then initially there's always that financial struggle and the doubt of what do I charge, how much do I charge, what is proper, and I went through all of that. And that was part of finding my own value. And I think many of us go through that. We have to see our value, we have to feel our value, and we have to know that what we provide is valuable. It can be life-changing. And so that's probably the three things that I went through with my coaching business.
That's right. Find your own value, baby. That's right. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Find it. Not only find it, make sure it shines brightly. Throw the polish on it. Heck, maybe even shoe polish.
Whatever works for you, Dom.
That's right. Just walk on past some random day on a date and be like, why is this guy putting shoe polish on a book? Well, don't worry, it's my value. I'm just making sure it's shiny. And you just slowly back away and keep walking.
Sure way not to get clients. Oh, my gosh.
Don't worry, it gets better and better.
I'm a very visual person, so I'm visualizing that right now. Seeing the person walk backwards, so it's really funny.
That's right. Don't worry, just ignore the pink.
Except I picture in New York City, like in Grand Central Station, where they have shoe shine stations. And so this guy is going over to the shoe shine station with his book and borrowing some polish from the shoe shine guy. I don't know why, but that's how I'm picturing it. So there's got to be a lesson in there somewhere, now. Get your wisdom from the shoe shine guy. There's the lesson. He talks to everybody. He knows everything.
Yep, that's true. That's right. Well, and speaking of knowing things, any advice for those who are in the beginning stages of their business and they are having those of self-doubt? Any advice you'd give them to overcome that?
Yes. Don't listen to other people. It sounds terrible, but listen to your own voice, to your own instincts about yourself. So many people try to rain on our parade. It seems to be human nature with certain people. They sometimes, it's even your own relatives, they really don't want you to shine. They really don't want you to succeed. And they don't even know this. It's all subconscious. And so if you know what you love to do and you know how much you want to help people, you stick to that. Don't let people discourage you, and don't ask for too much advice. You have your own inner voice. You have your own inner wisdom that tells you what the right path is. And so follow that. And don't second-guess yourself. I did that way too much, and I still do it sometimes, and then I want to kick myself in the butt. It's like the first thought that I usually have about a circumstance or even a person is usually the correct. You know, I don't know if you've felt that at all in your life, Dom. Like the first instinct is the correct one, and you might come back and second-guess yourself and go, okay, go with the second instinct and then prove yourself wrong.
Oh, yeah, especially on those multiple choice tests.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So somehow it's like that first little thought that comes through. For me, that's how it is. That's your guidance coming through. Then comes the logic coming through, or whatever people have said to you lately or through your life. So the very best wisdom, I don't want to call it advice, that I can give is listen to yourself, listen to your instincts. Do have a mentor. Do have people, you know, sounding board people, but make it people who you know without a shadow of a doubt that they have your best interest in mind. You only find a couple of those people in your life usually. But yeah, I think that's the best thing somebody starting out any kind of business can do.
That's right. Any kind of business at all, especially if it's incense basketballs. That's right. Oh, man. Woo! So you mentioned
the one. Is that going to be your new side business for 2019?
Oh, yeah, incense basketballs, baby. As soon as you dunk it, it makes the court smell really fresh. That's right.
Okay. You heard it first here, ladies and gentlemen.
If it actually happens in 10 years, I'm coming for whoever steals that idea.
I was going to say that. If that happens in the next few years, we have it recorded and you have a date and time stamp.
It's like, yes, another income stream. Woohoo! It's here, baby.
You're too much.
That's right. More streams than Niagara Falls, baby. That's right.
Oh, wow.
Woo. Well, and speaking of wonderful advice, I'm pretty sure there has been some magical books that you've read that inspired you. I know you mentioned Cheryl Richardson, and she's written some great stuff. Is there any other books or authors that have really inspired you?
The Four Agreements, of course, and I need to read it again. I try to read it once a year because it's such a short little book, but it's so packed with nuggets. You know, the one that comes to mind most is, be impeccable with your word. Say what you mean and mean what you say. And I try to do that. I'm not saying that I never go back on something because of circumstances, but that's an excellent one, the Four Agreements. I'm trying to think what else. I'm very big on Abraham Hicks, and they have several books. Law of Attraction and Money is a great one about attracting not necessarily finances, but abundance into your life. And I was an avid reader of Abraham Hicks for many years. It took me a while to understand what they were talking about, but they're about law of attraction, how our thoughts create our beliefs. Norman Vincent Peale's books are amazing. I know that goes way back. I was reading them when I was way back in college, many, many years ago. And Power of Positive Thinking, that was barely even talked about back then. But I got into it really early. I realized that later as I came back to the subject matter that I had been in that subject matter when I was in my early 20s, maybe even as young as 19. And so that's a wonderful one. I know those are older books, but I absolutely love them.
Hey, ain't nothing wrong with the oldies. A lot of them are still goodies, especially that Four Agreements. That one's one of my personal favorite. I'd consider that one of the 100 books for dynamic living because it's short, it's easy to the point. You can easily read it and understand it, and it gets straight to the point.
Yes. Greatest Salesman in the World is another one, which is good. Was a good short little book, but it's full with so much wisdom.
Oh, yeah, that's another great one, too, especially those 10 scrolls. Oh, the 10 magical scrolls. That's right. I bet Mari's got a purse full of scrolls of authenticity.
Just learning more and more, and I'm not saying I'm the perfect person, perfect authentic person, because I'm nowhere near that, but I do learn more about myself every year and more, and I see more ways that I'm not being authentic that I didn't know about. You know, I thought I was really perfect, authentic, and I'm not. So it's just a matter of, you know, being authentic takes a lot of courage. That's why I call my radio show Dare to Be Authentic. It takes a lot of guts to be out there and to be who you are and let people see you for who you are, because you know that there's going to be some who ridicule you or who put you down. It's just life. Bullies are there. They're there from the time you're born to the time you leave this earth. They're just there. But there's something very powerful about stepping into who you are and staying there. And it took me a long time, Dom. As I've told you before, I didn't start this journey till I was well into my 40s, and most of what I learned well into my 50s. You started this journey when you're 20, 21, 22. That's amazing. And nothing could make me more thrilled, because the younger you start this journey, the more you'll get accomplished, the more people you will be able to touch and guide. And I think that's a wonderful thing.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I get to touch many people. Almost like a Teletubby touch. That's right.
No comment. Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah. Just random references out of the blue and the red. Woohoo! Heck, this could be possibly turned into the Dare to Be Funny hour, where you just come up with random nonsense, see if you can get a laugh.
I love that. That is brilliant. I like that Dare to Be Funny hour.
Yeah, that could possibly be the Mari show. It's like, yeah, just telling jokes for a good, like 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
Wow, I got to think about that. Dare to Be Funny hour.
That's right. Well, all right, coming down the pike here to a question I'd like to ask all the guests, and that is, if you were 25 again, but this time in the current year, what advice would you give to yourself?
Wow, if I was 25 again, that would be amazing. The advice I would give is very simple, that I've talked about the whole time, because it took me a long time to learn this, is be who you are. Be authentic, be you. Don't let people tell you who you are. Don't let people tell you who you can or cannot become, or what you can and cannot become. Don't let people tell you where you should live, who you should marry, if you should have kids. Just be who you were born to be. Just step into that authenticity and be you. There's nothing more beautiful, more powerful, or more freeing than being who you are. And to become that at such a young age is a beautiful, perfect gift. And I know that more and more of our young people are being that way. And it just thrills me to know that.
Woohoo! Beautiful indeed. Yes, day. All sorts of daring, baby, that's right. All sorts of bungee jumping.
Yeah. Yeah, too many. I was afraid to do too many things when I was young because of how I was raised. My mom was very overprotective, and I was very afraid of showing people who I was because I didn't think they would like me. But there's more power and more everything in being who you are, because you were created that way. You were created to be you. If people don't like you, that's okay, because other people are going to come who think you're the best thing ever. And so don't be afraid to be who you are. It's a beautiful, beautiful life that way.
Oh, yeah, it'll be so beautiful after make a move down the runway. That's right. Beautiful life, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, indeed. Well, all righty. For those who want to keep in contact with you, what's the best way to keep in touch with you?
Well, you can check out my website, lifecoachmari.com. That's lifecoachmari.com. On there is all my information about my coaching, my books, my publishing, everything I do. If you want to call me, it's 954-243-7297. And if you'd like to email me, it's it's Mari Mitchell Coaching at gmail.com. So MariMitchell coaching at gmail.com.
Woohoo! Well, there you have it, folks. Go on ahead and head over to Mari's wonderful website. Go on ahead and give a call if you want. And if Tyrone answers the phone, don't worry about it. It's just a joke. It's just a joke, y'all. And all that magical good stuff. Heck, even pick up a few copies of all of her magical books and add it to your library. Heck, even add to someone else's library so it can grow like a huge tree.
Mm-hmm. And you'll find Dom on there, too. If you click my radio show page, you'll see all my radio show guests, and he's in there because he's one of my featured guests. So you can find out more information about him there, too.
That's right. It was a chocolate invasion on the Cuban Chocolate Hour, a.k.a. Dare to Be Authentic.
I like that, the Cuban Chocolate Hour. You're just like a plethora of these brilliant ideas. My goodness.
Oh, yeah, the idea machine, baby, a.k.a. the brightest man on the planet.
Yes, of course. And the most modest.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I got to learn from the modest Mari right here.
I thought it was Mari. Come on. Don't change my tag.
Oh, don't worry. You just got an additional one.
Oh, okay.
For some reason, M adjectives are easier to me. I don't know why.
Hey there, buddy. Looks like you made it to the end of this episode. Since you made it to the end of this episode, do both of us a favor and stop being greedy and share this episode with your friends and your fellow podcast lovers, especially those who have book clubs and want to listen to the authors who write some amazing books.